Well, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special Easter edition of the Uckfield Business Podcast with me, your host, Ian Noble from Uckfield Chamber, and my colleague here, Claire. Good afternoon, Claire. How are you?
Hello, Ian. Yes, hi, everyone. Back again. Another month has sped by, hasn't it? So I'm well, thank you. Yep, I hope everybody out there is doing well. We've had a really busy month this month, no doubt. You're going to tell us all about that, Ian.
Indeed, absolutely. We've had a busy month this month in the life of Uckfield Chamber, and but it's good to be here, and it's good to do this podcast every month. And of course, if you're watching live, brilliant. But if you're not, and you're just catching up on YouTube, you're equally welcome. We've got some special guests coming on today. Not just one guest, but we have six guests on, which is really fantastic. So could be a bit of a car crash, but we'll wait and see. But we have the very talented and able Mr. Gary King producing the show today. So I'm sure we're going to be absolutely fine because he does all the hard work. But let's get on with the show, Claire. We've had our AGM at the Chamber of Commerce this last week, and there you can see our new president. So tell us about our new president, Claire.
So yes, Chris Dowling has taken the mantle now. You can see the chain of office around his neck in that photo, taken over from Gary King. So Chris is a local councillor. He's also a business mentor. And runs his own business as a business mentor. He has another business, printing, I think, as well. So he's a man with many talents and fingers in many pies locally. And I'm sure there can't be many business owners in the Uckfield area that don't know him actually in one form or another.
Indeed, and of course a co-host on this show, but he's away today, so it's down to you and I. But I think Chris will be back next month. So Chris Dowling is the new chamber president. And you can see there Gary giving him the chain of office, as Claire has said. It's been an exciting month, though, because we've also produced a brand new piece of literature, which looks a bit like this. There it is. There's the brochure cover. And I'm very, very, very pleased with this. This is something that has been produced and designed by one of our members, Rachel Banham, Lazy Daisy, her business is called. And she's done a fantastic job in producing this wonderful brochure for us. It's 8 pages. And it's square, so I really like the design. And inside it tells you everything you need to know about. It talks about all our events, the various meetings we run. It talks about the special events that we run, the late night shopping, the business awards, and more about that in a while. And it's full of QR codes. So, we're up with the technology here. So all you need is your smartphone with this. And it takes you straight to the page. Have you got your smartphone out yet, Claire, and tried it out?
I haven't. I'm a bit of an old dinosaur like that, if I'm honest. But I know where to find the website. I don't need a QR code. Thank you.
Well, yeah, okay.
The brochure's great, isn't it? I'm actually really impressed with it. I really, really, really like it. So hopefully other people will find the use for their QR codes and use those on the brochure.
Very good. You can tell we didn't rehearse that bit, can't you? That was good. Anyway, get your smartphone out, get hold of a copy of this, and get onto the latest pages on our website. Now, the copy is available in the Civic Centre and in other good outlets around Uckfield coming up. Also, going ahead to next month, we have a very important networking breakfast coming up where we're going to be updated on the local skills improvement plan, which is a government-led initiative to look at the future skills required in the workforce across the southeast. And this piece of work is being managed by Sussex Chamber of Commerce. And so we've got one of their guys coming to speak at our networking breakfast on Friday, the 12th of April. And you can go online now and buy a ticket to this event. You do not have to be a chamber member to come along to this event. It should be a really good one. And it's really appropriate because we're going to be talking about future workforce and future skills today on this podcast. So that's very appropriate. And one final thing that we haven't got a slide for, Gary, so don't leave that slide there for a moment, if you would. We've also got the Uckfield Business Awards coming up this year. And I'm not going to say too much about that at the moment, but I just want to thank the sponsors. There's so many sponsors. One of them is you, Claire, your business. So thank you for sponsoring the awards. And we do have just one vacancy still. We have the best sole trader is still vacant. So if you know anyone out there business that would like to get involved and sponsor our business awards this year, then please do get in touch with me. So without further ado, Claire, I think we should get on with the show, don't you?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm really keen to meet our guests today.
Good. Okay, so let's get them up. Let's bring our guest on. Here's Stephanie Aguilera from Uckfield College. Now, your full title, Stephanie, is Careers Lead. Have I got that right, or something along those lines?
It's Aspirations Leader, but yes, I'm also a qualified careers advisor now, because I actually completed a level 6 in careers advisory. So yes.
Very good. So Stephanie Aguilera from the college. Good afternoon to you, Stephanie. You're very, very welcome. And with you today, we have a couple of your students, I think, don't we, joining us?
That's right. We have, a couple of our
students. Do you want to do the introductions here? Do you want to do the introductions?
Yes. Yeah. So Sam, we've got Sam and Martha, who are year 12 students, who would have just gone on work experience in February and have attended a range of career events which happen over the course of a year.
Brilliant. Okay. So before we hear from Sam and Martha, because we do want to hear from them this afternoon, Claire, do you want to kick us off with the opening question really for Steph? Okay.
So yes, Steph. I mean, obviously we're taking this from the business perspective at the moment, looking at how businesses can work with students. But why don't you tell us about the key events during the academic year where businesses can get involved and support the local college?
Yeah. So through an academic year, one of the first events we do kick off with is actually aimed at our year 13 students, which is a mock interview event. So we have deep learning days, which are themed around various different skills and a bit different range of activities, and it can be such a range. But a couple of them that take place over the course of the year are careers orientated, and one of them is aimed at year 13, and it's a mock interview event. So effectively trying out those interview skills for some, maybe for the first time, because even sometimes with those part-time jobs, you don't always actually have that formal interview. So it really is about testing the water with those questions. And I think about perhaps even making some errors and getting some feedback, because you want to be in a position that when you do apply for that job opportunity, that you go, wow, I've been offered an interview. That's amazing. You really do want to have the best shot at it. So we ask employers to come in and offer their very sage advice and give some feedback, which has always been so well received by students. There's always been such positive feedback. So that's what we do in November time, and we would welcome anybody who would like to be a part of that. And then in February we have year 12 work experience. So we do work experience for year 10. That's when you start your journey of the work experience program.
What age would they be? Year 10, Stephanie?
So year 10, you would be 14 to 15.
Okay.
Well, yes, that's right. Yeah, 14 to 15. And yes, basically they can go on a week of work experience. That takes place in July every year. It's an annual event. And they get to go on a week of work experience. In year 12, they are 16 to 17. It does change the landscape a little bit. There are some businesses that can't take under 16s, or there's a little bit more adjustment required. But with year 12, I always say approach it with a fresh perspective, because you may find that you'll have more opportunities now that you're 16 plus. So we do that in February. And then in March is one of my busiest months. So I'm quite glad we've just got to the end of March.
Sorry, Stephanie, I'm going to cut across you if I may. Just before we get on to March, let's just, as you talked about year 12 work experience, at this moment, I think let's just bring in Sam and Martha, because they've both done year 12 work experience. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Good.
Yes,
okay.
Be able to give
I'm going to come to you first, Martha. I know you haven't got your camera on because we couldn't get it working beforehand, but that doesn't matter. We can still hear you, hopefully. Martha, tell us first of all, Martha, where you did your work experience and what you got from it, if that's all right.
So I first did my work experience in year 10 when I was 14 years old. And I felt quite young at this point. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I knew that I was really good at maths. So I emailed a local accountancy firm and asked if they could offer me anything. And they did. They offered me a week work experience at their accountancy firm. And it was
Who was that, Martha?
Sorry?
Who was that with?
What were they called?
Don't worry if you don't know. It doesn't matter.
They're in Crowborough. Anyway, they were very local. And it was really valuable, but not in the way that I really expected, because I was able to learn a lot of new skills, such as having conversations in professional environments. But it also made me realise that I didn't want to do the job at all. That career was not for me. And then for my year 12 work experience, I was able to pick a much more suitable placement. And I ended up.
Tell us about year 12 then. What happened in year 12?
So in year 12, through a family friend, I was able to get work experience on the NHS, which was really useful. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a challenge to secure work experience on the NHS, but luckily we had this family friend. Okay. And I was doing work experience on multiple psychiatric units, shadowing a consultant doctor. Yeah.
Amazing. And that's presumably what you want to get into, is it? Medicine of some kind?
Yeah, I want to do medicine. And I was able to gain loads of contacts. I met OTs, medical students, psychologists, and social workers. So I met all kinds of different people who I'm now in contact with.
A good networking opportunity.
Really good networking opportunity, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Martha, very much indeed for that. Before we come to you, Sam, I'm just going to come back to Stephanie, if I may. Martha's made the point that with year 10 work experience, she found out quickly that is what she didn't want to do. How typical is that? How typical is that, do you think?
I can't stress it enough that there's no such thing as bad work experience, because if it didn't go well for you, you are now going to come back and realign your goals, and you are going to be more confident in your decision making, because you're going to have gained exposure to certain elements and you think, is that going to be the right environment for me? Or you'll take aspects of it and you go, actually, I enjoyed certain aspects of it. I'm not ruling it out completely, but I think I'm not going to channel my energy down that particular route. I'll still enhance those kind of skills because I actually did enjoy those aspects. It's just such food for thought that you can't necessarily gain from inside school. You need to gain that exposure to workplace environment. And I do think, like I said, it's about building your confidence behind your decision making. Because how often are you making a decision and you're like, I'm really not sure. This can actually make you think, actually, no, I feel more confident now because I did test the water there.
Okay. That's brilliant. Now, let's see if Sam agrees with you, shall we? Is that all right? Yes. So Sam, you've done some work experience. You've probably been to one of the largest private employers in Wealden, in a company called Servomex in Crowborough. Yeah. Know a little bit about them, but tell us about your experience, Sam, and why it was important and how you benefited, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, so for me, I'm really interested in engineering. It's something I would like to go into in the future. So I found it quite difficult to find placements for both year 10 and year 12 because of all the safety aspects. But year 10, I went to a company called TR Fastenings. But it was all right. I didn't really find it too useful because they had a new system up that week. So everyone was a bit stressed. Everyone was a bit hectic. And when you got a bunch of 14-year-olds going around, they're just like, it was really difficult. But it meant that when I did the one in year 12 with Servomex, it was really beneficial. I learned so much. I moved all around the different departments. I couldn't do too much physical stuff because it's quite dangerous. But just moving around, talking to people, learning about what different people do within engineering was really, really useful. And also how they do some of the stuff they do, I found it really beneficial. And then going back to yesterday when we had a networking event with loads of other people who were coming in talking about their experiences in the past, I also found that really useful and got a lot of tips from then on, especially with engineering, how to like look good to unis, to new companies. Yeah, but for me, I've had a few bad experiences with work experience, but then on the upside, some really good ones as well.
Good. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Really, really interesting to hear from you. Stephanie, do you want to just finish off the academic year then?
Yes.
And in fact, at this point, I think we should thank Martha and Sam for joining us.
Yes.
And we'll let you go. We'll let you enjoy your long Easter weekend, guys. But thank you so much for coming on and joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about the rest of the academic year then.
So into March. As I say, it's one of my busiest months, but I really do plunge all my efforts into it because I do think it's a very complex landscape, careers, and how can you try to provide as many windows of insight into the outside world of work to our students. So I do a lot of networking, including at the Chamber of Commerce and through our local businesses. I have found some brilliant supporters, but we'll always reach out and we'll always network to find new individuals who will come in, new companies, new perspectives, and different businesses, because I think that's the thing. It's huge now to represent this broad range of career pathways and industries. So in March, we had it on the 15th of March this year was the Careers Fair. We were expecting 50, but we had 45 exhibitors. There's always a few that can't quite make it. I'm always hopeful that it'll always get a full attendance, but it's
overbook and then
absolutely. But 45 exhibitors, of which there was about 10 universities, 10 apprenticeship and training providers, and then the rest, which was about 25 plus employers. And it's really great. I think we got such a fantastic range this year of small businesses, of medium enterprises, of entrepreneurial, of big businesses. We had Servomex there, the global company, and engineering, and if some arts orientated universities, for example. So hopefully, and Ricks and Kay were there, and Ashdown. Ashley Jones from Downland, quantity surveying and everything. So that was really, really, really fantastic. And actually the feedback that we've got is meeting such a range of businesses, hearing about careers that I didn't know about before. Always resonates in my head. I go, oh, good, I've shown a light on something that they didn't know. And now they can...
don't know what you don't know, yeah?
Yes, exactly. And they can go away and just explore that a bit. The great thing about having individuals in as well is that they can often talk about not just what they're doing now, but what they did before. And they can talk about how they've ended up taking the course that they've taken, what qualifications they've had to do along the way, how they've had to make themselves into what they ultimately wanted to work in, which is, again, fantastic insight. So that's the Careers Fair, and that's open to all year groups. We do have specific slots for year 10, and we do have year 11 and year 12. And then 2 weeks later, I run another event, or less than 2 weeks later, and which happened yesterday. I call it an alumni networking event. It was 20 volunteers. One wasn't alumni, but was able to represent a different industry. Otherwise, it was all alumni, which was from so many different generations as well, which was great. So, right up to CEO level, through to somebody who was doing a PhD at university, somebody who'd been 2 or 3 years out of university, some who'd been 10 years out of university, and just such a range, and actually lots of wiggly lines as well.
And this was for what year group?
So this was aimed at year 12. So
year 12.
Sam, our year 12 student, touched upon it there, that he was, he really enjoyed speaking to lots of different individuals.
Yeah,
and it really is. The good thing about the alumni, so it's great to have the Careers Fair, but the alumni and the mock interview, you get that one-to-one time. Okay. And it is tailored to the individual. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm going to stop you there in the interest of time. I know you could talk for a lot longer about that kind of stuff, and you're massively passionate about it, which is lovely. So we've got the things that happen in the year. We've got the Careers Fair, we've got the Alumni Day, we've got the mock interview day, and we've got the 2 lots of work experience. They're the 5 key things that happen from Uckfield College, where employers locally can get involved. Now, Claire, before we bring our other guests on, because you've been sitting there patiently, very quiet, listening, you run a really successful bookkeeping business, Team 4 Bookkeeping, and you've had kids on work experience. So tell us a little bit about your experiences in having students in at Team 4.
Yes, we have. So we've done this the last 2 years now. I think we just had one now, just recently. A young lady came and joined us. But for us, it's quite an eye-opener, actually. I mean, in terms of what we do, bookkeeping, I've always thought it's been viewed as a rather middle-aged lady profession. And I'd really love to sort of energize and show students, young people, that it can be a really exciting and interesting career, to be honest. I mean, it's certainly a career that you can become self-employed in, run your own business. So for people who have got that entrepreneurial spirit, it's an absolutely brilliant way to do that, because we end up working with lots of other small businesses and so on. But there's also the digital tech side of the business. Nowadays, bookkeeping, accounting, it's not just sitting there with numbers in dark, dusty corners. It's actually really vibrant. It's using modern technology and requires that kind of thinking. So it's perfect for young people. So the 2 students we had came along with. I can't believe how intelligent they were. Actually, they were amazing. I mean, we have
done a good job, have they?
But they were superb. We have a weekly quiz in the office, and they're both trounced all of us in the office. Their general knowledge was amazing. So they were great, very studious. They were really interested in what we were doing, even if it's not a career they want to go on to. I think the young lady we had was interested in forensic accounting, which is fabulous. It's a really good place for her to have a look about what accounting's about. The young guy that came with us last year, I don't think accountancy was going to be his route, but like you said, it's good that he was able to discount that, and actually see that probably it's not the route he wanted to take. So really positive experience for them, I hope, and certainly for us. We'll definitely do it again.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claire, so much for that. So let's get our other guests on, if we may, Gary. They've been waiting very patiently in the green room for her to be called. And here we are. So we have, in no particular order, Ashley Jones, Catherine Paisley and Chester Broad. Welcome, guys. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Where are we going to go first? I'm going to go sort of on my screen, sort of left to right. So that's Chester, Catherine, and then Ash, you're going to be up last. So Chester, first of all, welcome to you. Chester Broad, 3 Acre Brewery. I came out to see you the other day, didn't I, as well? I saw your brewery in operation, which was fantastic. So tell us very briefly a little bit about the business, and also how you've managed to support Uckfield College with this kind of stuff that we've been hearing about this afternoon.
Yeah, gladly. Hi, everyone. My name's Chester, as Ian said, and I'm one of the co-founders at 3 Acre Brewery. We're based over in Blackboys, or just outside of Blackboys, so not far from Uckfield at all. And we've been trading since the back end of 2019, began in that November, predominantly selling cask beer, old school real ale with a modern twist, to pubs across Kent, Sussex, and some of London, and now more recently regionally across the UK as well. And onwards from there, hoping to start looking at export as well, which is all very exciting. So as I said, we've been running for 4 years. Some of you might remember us, if you didn't know about us anyway, from throughout lockdown, delivering cartons, bottles, mini casks and the like, door to door in Uckfield, local postcodes. And we got to know many of you during that time, whilst pubs and hospitality was closed down. And since then, since things have reopened and the world has gone back to some sort of normal-ish, we've been going back to pubs and our friends in hospitality, where cask beer is once again sort of our bread and butter. So that's kind of a little bit about us. I run the business with 2 of my best friends who I grew up with around in the local area, and the 3 acres is a reference to a bit of land between all of our sort of family homes where we grew up, as I say, riding bikes and getting up to no good, and eventually home brewing in a shed. So it's also Jamie, who's head brewer, and Peter, who's head of finance and legal. That's a little bit about us. Do you want me to move on into the
so tell us about what you've done to help the college. I think we've heard a little bit about it already, but tell us about that.
Yeah, happy to. So Stephanie and I got to know each other about 1.5 years ago now, I think, when I came in to discuss whether there were any opportunities to speak to any students at the college, really, but particularly sixth form, because I think it's such a pivotal moment for young people as it was for me. To hear from the likes of myself and other alumni, which wasn't something when I was at school at Uckfield I had the opportunity to do.
So Chester, when did you leave Uckfield College? Can I ask you that question if you don't mind me asking that? And we work out
Sure.
how old you are from there.
Yeah. I left college. I think it was in 2015, so that's about 9 years ago now.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right. And yes, and Stephanie and I got speaking about hopefully designing and creating this alumni day, which was one of the ones you were describing earlier, which was delivered yesterday actually. So we're fresh out of that, and that was the second one I think that we've done, following the first one the year prior. So it's always nice and a little bit surreal, but lovely to go and speak to sixth formers, obviously in the shoes that I was once in, and hearing about all the things that they're thinking about, things that they want to do, whether they have a really, really clear idea or no idea at all, equally fine. But as I say, hearing about all the different things that they're studying, learning, looking to do next, and hopefully where I can, lending an ear and offering some advice or some contacts to help them, get to the next stage.
Brilliant. So you were actually instrumental in starting this alumni day with Stephanie, is that right?
I don't want to take too much credit, but I think
Stephanie, is that right, Steph, or not?
So how it started, I started in March 2021 here at the college, and it was something that was being spoken about by senior management of how we need to try and reach out to our alumni. And for me, who from my recruitment days, I've been using LinkedIn for a number of years, and I've always thought the benefit of it is huge because it is networking. I said, well, I can look up these students. If you've got list of names of who've left us, I can look them up. And I found, lo and behold, most of them. And so I said at some point, we have got such an amazing pool of alumni. We must use this. And Chester did reach out in an email. And then I was just like, right, well, we need to try and get an event together. So it came to me that I thought speed networking, not speed dating, speed networking, that you can actually sit across the table for 5 minutes. And in a brief encounter, you need to make that work. And I've always said, when you're in an elevator, imagine if you're in touch with somebody who runs a business that you'd be like, oh my God, I'd love to work there. If you can make that encounter, that brief encounter work for you, then that's what it's all about. So we really focus on the importance of networking. We really focus that we have other activities that take place across the day, which is recruitment orientated assessment center, really having you reflect on what you'd like to achieve out of it. And how you can present yourself. So this is where it came from. And first year we ran it last year, and the feedback was just, absolutely amazing. And genuinely at this age group, you can get some negativity, but genuinely it was pretty much 100% positive. Brilliant. So which we just knew we had to run it again, and we would like to continue it going forwards. I mean, we will potentially also accept, we will accept, and I know that Ian, you came to an alumni event. We will represent other businesses because it is about those brief encounters. So it's not always 100% alumni. We would happily have other businesses talk about their area of work.
Well, I think I could probably get in because both my children were alumni, but there we are. So well done. So it's all happening again next year. So if you're an alumni of Uckfield College and you don't know about this, make sure you get in touch with Stephanie Aguilera. And Steph, I'm sure even after this show, you'll put your contact details, LinkedIn profile and everything else on the comments in the chat that we have going out live with this broadcast. So let's carry on with other people if we may. So Chester, thank you for your contribution. Stay with us. I'm going to come to Catherine next in your rather posh background. Catherine, you've been a great member of our chamber for many years, ever since I've been involved, served on our executive committee. You've got a senior role in Rix & Kay, well-known firm of lawyers based in Uckfield. So tell us about your involvement with the college, Catherine, and not just of yours personally, but the firms at large as well.
Happily. Hello, everyone. Rix & Kay goes a long way back with the college, actually, and we're really, really pleased to do so. So we are involved with certainly 2 of the events that Stephanie's mentioned. I know, in fact, we do have an alumnus sitting just down the corridor from me, and I imagine there are more in the firm, but we haven't so far been involved in the Alumni Day. But we are heavily involved with the interview skills day, and we always rock up to the careers fair as well. And what we try and do at the careers fair is bring along some of our younger people, so that lawyers aren't quite so distant possibly from where the students are now, so they can see that there is a route into being old and grey like me. It doesn't happen immediately. And we get heavily involved with work experience as well. So every February we do take 3 or 4 year 12 students on, people who want to come and work with us. We don't force them, but we generally have a number of people who do want to come and do work experience in a local law firm. And we do our best to make it as interesting and varied for the students as we possibly can. So we move them around the different departments in the firm, including the non-legal departments, because I think it's important as well that people realise that when you're working in professional services, you don't have to be a professional, because we have marketing people and we have accounting people, and there are other roles that people can undertake. And then the interview skills, which is one of my personal favourites. I love turning up every November to talk to year 13s. So again, in old money, that's upper sixth. People of my generation, dare I say it, like to suggest that young people nowadays have no work ethic or passion or interest in very much at all. And all of our experiences of all of the students just is completely different. So you talk to people who know where they're going, how they're going to get there. You talk to people who don't yet know where they're going, but they know what they've done and they know what they have to offer to the world. And you talk to a lot of people who are a little bit frightened about the next step. And what we try and assist them with, Ian, I know that you go along to these days as well, is perhaps an ability to see the positives in what they do know and what they can offer, and try and work on those and focus less on the negatives of what they don't know and how nervous they are, because everyone's got something. And I think we try and tease out of them what they can deliver to a potential employer or to a university. And what comes out of it more than anything else is how impressive they all are. And
very good, absolutely. And I do remember, actually, now you've just reminded me that I think I interviewed your son, who's at the school.
I think you might have done, yes.
and this resonated with me, and I wouldn't have known necessarily, other than obviously share your surname. But we were talking, because you break the ice in these interviews, and we were talking about football, because I could talk about football all day. People that know me well. And I said to your son, what football team do you support? And he said Liverpool. And I said, oh, that's interesting. What part of Liverpool are you from? And he sort of laughed and said he wasn't. But that he's one of his, late relatives is the great Bob Paisley, which was amazing. So
our one and only claim to fame in the family, yes.
Fantastic. So we won't go into that now. We haven't got time. But that was fantastic. And, of course, that broke the ice, and that enabled us to have a really good interview. And hopefully that was a good experience for him. So I can concur with everything you've said there, Catherine. And then the other thing I remember from one of your LinkedIn posts, because Stephanie's mentioned LinkedIn, but I know you're fairly prolific on LinkedIn as well. And didn't you take some of your work experience students, year 12s, out to lunch at the Picture House? Have I got that correct?
I can neither confirm nor deny, Ian. Lawyers do not spend their lives lunching, but yes, we do. And actually, talking of LinkedIn, what we also do when the year 12s are with us is in the day that they're with the marketing team, we give them their own LinkedIn profile. We help them to set that up, which I know is something the college does in year 13. But those people who come to us, we give them just a little bit of a head start.
We've stolen a march on you for the Brixton K work experience students.
Catherine,
thank you so much for sharing with us. So stay with us, won't you? I'm going to come to Ashley now, last but by no means least. Ashley, you are in your lovely cabin office, I think at the end of your garden or something like that. You're a surveyor, a qualified surveyor. So Ash, you work pretty much alone, I think. But tell us a little about your business, and then also how you've managed to help the college.
Yeah, sure. I do work alone, although I've got a few subcontractors that help me out with CAD work and land surveying and that sort of thing. So we are a team. Just myself in the firm. We're chartered building surveyors and architectural designers based in Framfield, just outside Uckfield. Yes, we have been taking, I think, probably 6 previous students for work experience, all in year 10, except for this year. I was approached by a year 12 student, and Sam came to me, a different Sam than we've been talking to, in February, and that was really interesting. We tried to give a good varied mix of what it's like to be a chartered building surveyor. I try to engineer the work that comes along that week, so that we get out and about and do some surveys and measure buildings and do some drawing work. Give them a broad experience of what we do here at Downlands Architectural Design and Surveying. So yeah, it's always a challenge for me working on my own to fit them in, but it's definitely worthwhile. And I think they leave after a week, a whirlwind week with us, with some idea of what it's like to be in the construction industry as a consultant. So I think it's valuable, and some of them do leave with an idea that this is exactly not what they want to do, but that's as valuable to them as finding out that it might actually be something that they want to do, because not many people really know what a chartered building surveyor is. So it's useful to them. So yeah, that's that. I've also been involved this last year with the mock interviews, although I do mock interviews regularly with a different college in East Sussex, and twice I've exhibited at the Careers Fair, which again is interesting. You learn not to put all your freebies out right at the beginning. Yeah, so I often offer them a challenge to get a freebie. They have to ask me a sensible question and engage in some conversation. And this year I offered a competition to guess the height of the room we were exhibiting in, because I've got a laser measure to do that. And interesting how they've got no clue what a measurement looks like.
Is that right? How interesting. Good stuff. Thank you, Ashley, very much indeed for sharing that. So I hope you agree that we've got a great range here, the three of you guys, of different types of businesses that have helped the college. Stephanie, I'll cast you this first, then we'll just invite others to answer this question as well. What would you say to a small business about the benefits to them investing their time in a student work experience placement?
Yes, I think it's about they can learn a lot about what the current generation are learning and the skill set and how that's going to affect the future talent pipeline, and any new changes that they wouldn't have seen since they were at school potentially. But also it's about a chance to pass the torch on. And I think it's about I can't tell you how it changes an individual from when they first go out to work experience, and they're a little bit like, oh, work experience, we'll go out, and then they come back, and I do a briefing to tell them about, okay, this is what you need to do. Please make sure you've noted down the number. If you're going to be late, make sure you phone ahead. Blah, blah, all the instructions before they go out, and then I do a debrief of saying about what you need to take away, how you can transform that onto your CV and represent yourself now at interview with that 1 week of work experience, and how beneficial it can be. And their faces are absolutely lit up by the debrief stage. They've been treated as an individual, as somebody who's actually listened, and they've been able to contribute as well, which is just so valuable. So I hope that employers, certainly, I know from your experiences, Ashley, you've had some feedback given to you. I think this year's year 12 student was saying, I think this is something I'm really seriously considering as a career. So I really thank you for the experience that I gained, which was fantastic. So it's definitely, it's nourishment for the future generation, but it's equally insight into what is coming up in terms of pipeline and value add.
Brilliant.
Yeah, this year's student was really positive about the experience. Obviously, for me, first year 12 student, so 2 years older than normal, but yeah, it's extremely fulfilling. And when you hear somebody say they want to get into this sort of industry, having experienced it, you can't beat that.
And would you say it's the same sort of responses you're getting, Stephanie, from year 10s as year 12s?
Yes, and actually with year 10s, it's even more marked because they do not see at all before going into it what actually they're going to get out of it. I was just saying, one of the challenges is often with running these events and running these activities that we do that are careers orientated, them acknowledging or understanding the benefit that they're going to see. It doesn't really, the penny doesn't drop until they're actually doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
And often you'd really love them to be a bit more prepared and a bit more, like looking forward to everything that they're going to gain from it. But you can't know what you're going to gain often without that experience. And that's what we're here to encourage.
Brilliant. Thank you. Let me bring Catherine in. Well, I was going to ask you the same question. What would you say to other businesses to encourage them to take kids on work experience? But Catherine.
No, well, that's pretty much where I was going to jump in, picking up on something that Stephanie said about how employers and businesses can learn from the young people coming in on work experience. So I don't think anyone should be in any doubt. It is a time-consuming exercise. You do have to dedicate time and resource and patience and all of those things to people that you're not accustomed to having in your business. So you've got to go into it eyes open. But what you get out of it is exactly as Stephanie said, you learn what they're learning. You learn terminology you're not accustomed to. You learn how to treat people who are absolute lay people. And so, particularly in law, we often get accused of using jargon that people don't understand. And we try really, really hard to use plain English and to try and explain terminology to our clients. And what's really interesting is having people in the business is they're guiding us on what they don't understand and what we can do better and how we can make it even easier for people to, understand the advice that we're giving them. So there are lots of different things. What it also gives to employers and to businesses is it assists us to allow our people to take on mentoring roles. So the people that are looking after the young people, they are also learning, because when you're mentoring, you're gaining as much as your mentee. It's a circular type of beneficial activity, and more than anything else, it's absolutely firmly giving back to the society that welcomes us. Generally, it's just a good bit of karma.
I'm glad you touched on that bit. Claire, would you concur with everything Catherine said there for your business with the experiences you've had? Yeah,
absolutely. It's great for us to have youngsters come in because it brings a fresh approach for us, because I think, like I said, we tend to be middle-aged ladies in our profession, and I've been trying to recruit young people into it because it just brings a whole new vibe to the company, the business, what we do. And bringing students in and seeing what they're learning now, how numeric they are, how quick they are with digital, software and all the rest of it. It's right eye opener for us, and we learn as much. They show us around all sorts of things in IT and so on. So it's great. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chester. I know you've been quiet and you've helped the college with your alumni. Experience at the brewery yet?
Not yet. No, it's not something that we've explored just yet. It's something we'd really like to, though. And from listening to the others thus far, it's really thought-provoking, actually. I've been sitting here thinking about what we could do in a similar vein. I think something that is worth relating to the conversations I was having yesterday with the thinking about work experiences. I enjoy just as much telling people about, the specifics of the industry. For example, with me, it's brewing and beer and hospitality, etc. As much as I do thinking more broadly about, well, actually, how do you go about finding what it is you want to do, or thinking about entrepreneurship at a higher level, or being, and I think that's something that as we've spoken about as a three before, Jamie, Peter, and I, about how do we sort of inspire and educate about entrepreneurship specifically, rather than necessarily just looking at it down the lens of, well, we're a brewery, let's teach people about brewing or beer or something related, because that's the industry they may or may not be attracted to. But actually, how is there a way for us to inspire people to start?
And this is where so many placements that you can't always match something that a student would love to do with what the placement can offer. So the way I approach it, okay, if you can't find your plan A, it's okay. You can still do another business and approach it in a different way. So for example, a lot of media creative students, the media industry is quite fragmented. It's a popular choice. It's often more Brighton way. There are some more smaller businesses, but when you are, I know, Ashley, you do support us, but it is harder when you're quite a sole trader and having to give up so much time. So another way that I approach it is if you do go into a business, whether it be a local hospitality pub or somewhere which is a shop, you know, a public facing business, they must do marketing. They must do social media presence. They must do websites. They must do, and that's something that, and often when I speak to students, I say, well, why don't you approach them and say, I'm not actually so much looking for a kitchen assistant role, but could I get involved in how you run events? How, you know, I know that you do corporate hospitality. How do you run these breakfast networking events? And who runs all of that? Do you have a social media presence? How could I maybe have a look at that? Is there a project that you could give to me that I can see whether, and that on their CV, that they could say, actually, I came up with a leaflet that was going to be distributed to all for an Easter event they were about to run. That's fantastic. That's really great experience. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you went to go and work as a kitchen assistant. It was something actually much broader. So it's always, don't necessarily focus too much on the industry and the business. Think about what can you do for them? Is there a project that you can do? I know that we had Chailey Heritage take on a student, and it was in their marketing, and they did, and the student designed a leaflet. And the student was like, I absolutely loved that. I really, really enjoyed that, which is great. So it sometimes you have to think about a little bit outside the box, as so typically you do in business. It's not, you're not suddenly just going to be filling barrels or you know, there's the whole world and a whole scope of career pathways and elements to a business.
Indeed. And I think maybe we just may need to sign a disclaimer if you send work experience students out to 3 Acre Brewery that they don't get involved in tasting too much of it. But, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I just want to touch on a couple of comments in the chat here. People have been watching. So Margaret Dodie Angel, I think this is, said, we love having students at Sussex Support Service breaking down the assumptions around working in care and the charity sector. Thank you for that. And we've got another, someone watching, I'm not sure who it is, doesn't say. It says, we have students from Uckfield College, East Sussex College Group and universities, and all add value to our organisation and their learning. So there we are. We've got some people that are already converted out there and doing some great work, taking students on work experience. Guys, we're sort of out of time. You know, time flies when you're having fun. So I just want to thank Chester, Catherine and Ashley and yourself, Stephanie, for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully you've enjoyed the experience. We wish you a very happy Easter. Have a great long weekend. And thanks for joining us. And Claire,
thank you for having us.
Yes, a pleasure. You and I will be back next time, or maybe not you. You said you're not available next time. Is that right?
Yes, I'm going off to sunnier climes next month, I'm afraid. So I think Chris Dowling.
So I'm with Chris Dowling. Chris Dowling is going to join me.
Chris Dowling, new president.
Absolutely. Chris Dowling will join me next time. We've done the networking breakfast. I think we've got a couple of other events coming up with the Chamber. So we've got another podcast, which I'll tell you about in a minute. We've got some virtual networking coming up on the 1st of May. So that's a little while off. That picture there on the right-hand side, for those on the podcast, and you can't see it, that is the Horsted Place Hotel, where we have our members meeting in May. That's going to be a fantastic event. But we're back with another podcast on Thursday, the 25th of April. And our guest on that occasion is going to be Kevin Markwick, the owner of the Picture House Cinema and Restaurant. So we're looking forward to having Kevin join us on that occasion, when I'll be joined by Chris Dowling. So it's from myself and Claire. Have a very good afternoon and a great long Easter weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.